Get on up to Lesson on Coding.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Lesson on Coding. My name is Ryan Lesson. So, in today's video, we're going to be talking about why I absolutely love my coding bootcamp experience. So, if you're thinking about becoming a programmer, you probably heard of boot camps. They're kind of an alternative way to learn about, different aspects of coding that transfer into real-world, skills and abilities to have. It's a really cool, unique way to learn the knowledge that employers want you to have and make you more employable. I highly recommend them. Let's just go over everything about them. I'm going to give you kind of personal experiences, why I really enjoyed my own bootcamp experience, and why, if you're just thinking of, becoming a programmer, why it might be right for you to do it. So let's get right down to it. So first things first, the bootcamp that I went to was called Dev Bootcamp, all right? It was a great boot camp. Unfortunately, it's not around anymore. They were around for about 5 to 10 years, I think. And they were in a lot of cities. They were in New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Austin, Seattle. Well, unfortunately, I guess they maybe expanded too quickly or something, and they had to fold, unfortunately. But let's talk about, this boot camp experience is kind of pretty much similar to all different types of boot camp experiences. So, my experience could kind of be the same, or similar to, other coding bootcamp experiences that you may have, all right? So my background at the time, right when I was starting to get into, programming myself, I was a marketing and a computer science major coming out of Michigan State, and I was in Detroit at the time, and my parents, family, friends, kids, they just got back from this boot camp and they were building apps, and we're 22, 21 years old, and they're building these cool apps and they're showing it to people. And all around, I heard about their experiences, and it sounded like it would be the perfect thing for me to do after college to kind of continue my education, because I was thinking about getting a master's, but again, I didn't want to go back to school for that amount of time and spend that much money. A boot camp is a lot cheaper alternative. It only costs $10,000 for the boot camp, that I went to. Others could be cheaper. Again, it's kind of like a luxury to learn, because there's some boot camps that will, put you through the whole thing for free, but you have to give them some of their salary when you get employed. That might not be the best route for you to take. Maybe it is. But I would say, all the content you need to learn is already online. Like, the boot camp is kind of a luxury to learn, and it's a really good way to learn. But again, if you have the self-discipline, you can learn all this yourself. So, but for me, I was still kind of novice at programming. I learned a lot about, the computer science aspect, of it in college, but I didn't know too much about programming. I didn't know how to basically transfer that to the real world, like how to code on projects in the real world, how to work on different teams and things like that. So I was very eager to do this. So I'll kind of break down to you how everything went, at that boot camp. So it was a 19-week program, okay? It was 9 weeks remote, and it was 9 weeks on campus, like on-site at their location they had in the cities I mentioned. But after the 9 weeks, there was one more week on campus for Career Week, where they kind of helped you with your resume, helped you apply to different places, and help you kind of get your foot in the door started, within the industry. So me, right after college, I decided this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to code, learn more about coding and do it at a faster pace. Another advantage about this is only 18 weeks of programming, and you learn so much from it. You're going to do a master's, it could be 1 to 2 years, So it's very accelerated. It's a huge dump of knowledge on you, and it's honestly a great way to learn. So the first part, the remote part, let's get into that, okay? So the remote part was basically this. They said it was about 20 hours of work a week, but for me, it was more like it was about 40 hours of work a week. So basically every day we would be getting these challenges we would need to do. And again, this was just very simple, basic stuff using Ruby, I believe at the time. Ruby and sort of JavaScript at the time. And basically we were just kind of getting our foot in the door. So when we came on site, we would have, a better background of programming to really get started in the door. So that's what we would do. We would do a lot of, remote paired programming, which I thought was amazing. This remote pair programming we did with other people within our cohort. That's kind of the team that I was going to meet in New York City. That's where my on-site location was that I chose to start the on-site immersive program. But for me, during that process, again, that bootcamp was all those other cities. I wasn't just collaborating with people who were going to be in my New York City, on-site, cohort. I was doing it with people, coding with people all over who were doing cohorts in all different cities. So I was basically, meeting and working with people all throughout America at this point. It was really, really cool experience meeting people with a lot of different backgrounds and writing some beautiful code and learning together. And so we would do these pair programming things. Then we would have an instructor come on and kind of evaluate you and work on things with you every week as well. So this went on for about 9 weeks. Then after that came the on-site portion of the course. So for me, I went to New York City, got a really cheap rundown apartment. It was like probably $1,200 a month for this cheap apartment, and it was about a 30-minute bus ride to where the actual campus was. So basically, this is how it worked out. I'll kind of give you the whole structure of how the on-site portion of it works. So it was about 10 weeks, and there was 3 phases of it, split up into 3 weeks. So the first phase was more over learning more about Ruby, the back end of Ruby, how to use it, and working with different algorithms, okay? So it was basically just diving into some more algorithms, how to use it, how to use some background, programming with Ruby, basically just building console applications. The second phase was doing more web requests, how to work with the web, how to, use the paradigm of RESTful APIs, how to do a whole bunch of things like, navigation, all of these web-based, and learning JavaScript was phase 2. And then phase 3 is tying it all together with Ruby on Rails. You got the back-end, front-end database, and you actually, the last portion of phase 3, you would build your own app and then display it, and that would be your kind of accumulation of everything of the course that you learned up to that point. So at the end of phase 1 and phase 2, there were evaluations, and you would have to, pass the evaluation to move on to the next part. All right, and you had 2 chances to pass the evaluation, or you would go back and redo the cohort. Okay, so this is kind of like some tough love here. You're spending a lot of money. You're not really working when you're at this boot camp because you're spending, I was spending on average 70, 80 hours a week at least, maybe even more coding. You can't really have a full-time job doing this, but that's one good thing about this is it's so quick, so immersive, so fast that it's easy. You're only not taking too much time off not working while learning compared to other programs that could take years of you not working. You know what I mean? So it's very fast-paced. And it's kind of tough love. If you can't learn it the first time, you go back and learn it all again. And if you can't pass it, unfortunately, they're going to have to let you go because you're wasting money yourself. You're wasting time yourself. And it's a little tough love, but, it makes sense in the long run, to really get the most efficient students out of it. So let's get right down to it. So phase 1 started. So phase 1 was, again, it was basically algorithms and more back-end Ruby stuff. And it was great, Basically, every day we would learn, and then we would pair programming, and then have lectures and learn more, and then we would be split up into teams, just split up into pairs, and you get a new pair every day. So you'd meet so many different people on your team, and then you would just code. You would code for a very long time, pretty much. So the actual schooling of the boot camp was from 9 to 5, but we were staying till at least 7 p.m. almost every day, working and coding on a whole bunch of different things that we were working on. So we had TAs who were there who would come and help us if we ever struggled. So that was basically the first couple weeks of week 1. We would do that, and the end of the week we would have this, insane, pretty kind of like challenge we would have. I wouldn't say insane challenge, but it was a tough challenge we'd have at the end of each week to code something. I remember at the end of week 1, we would be doing this Sudoku challenge of how to basically solve Sudoku algorithm. It's still kind of difficult for me to write that from scratch. But that was our first thing we had to do. And it was difficult. We had these at the end of every week. And then at the end of the third week, we had our evaluation. So my first time through phase 1, I was doing well, I thought. I wasn't spending too much time. I was, leaving at a relatively, decent time from there. I wasn't, I thought I had it. And then all the assessments aren't really graded, up until the evaluation at the end. It's, you spend as much time as you want on it. You know what I mean? And you get it done. It's more self-study. It's not really like, oh, you need to get this whole thing done every week and turn it. It's not like homework. It's just, these are cool things to do. These are cool things to work ahead to do. They have work aheads there to learn even more. And it's up to you how much you want to learn. So to me, this was not good because unfortunately, I didn't spend as much time as I should have the first time through. So my evaluation came from phase 1, and oh my God, I just remember, I don't know what happened. I blanked out. I just remember looking at the code. The challenge, it was just I can't even remember. It was something like, easy stuff of working with data structures, setting up different algorithms, and solving different things. And I couldn't do them, I remember. And then I go to my evaluation, and the guy's like, oh, wow, this is, it's clear that you would have to go back and do phase one again with a different team of people because you don't have the knowledge for me to pass you on to phase two. And I was devastated hearing this. I just remember, like, shoot, man, like, I don't even know if I could be a programmer. Like, I thought programming was not for me. I thought I was going to make it. Now the pressure's on because now I need to pass this phase one or, I'm out of the program. And so much pressure was on me to do this. And I just felt so intimidated and so, put down by this. But, thank God, because this kind of tough love of having to go back and do it again really instilled into me that I have to work harder, I have to retain the information more, and I have to learn more. So, phase one, the first time I kind of, lazily pushed by. The second time, I learned everything. Even though it was the same material, I would learn it and make sure I learned it. I would spend the extra hours going through it, and I would solve the challenges. The first time through, I kind of probably just worked on them and didn't solve them. This time I was solving them, coming up with solutions, and it felt good. So the evaluation came for phase one again, and I'm taking it, and I just remember I was so nervous taking it, because again, if I didn't pass this, I'm out of the program, because I'm wasting time, I'm wasting money there in the program. I take the evaluation and I pass it, and I was so happy, and he's like, yep, you can move on to phase two, which was, more JavaScript and routing. And I was just beaming with happiness, and I could not wait to phase two. So phase two started, and for some reason, phase two came to me a lot easier. It was more working with the web, building things on the web, using HTML to display things, CSS, all that stuff. And it came to me really well. Kind of breezed by, but I had that foundation of working harder from having to go back in phase one that I applied to phase two. Then the phase two evaluation came around, and I just remember taking it, and I killed it, destroyed it, did so well on it. And they're like, all right, you're ready for phase three. So phase three starts. So phase three is the most challenging phase of this whole process. And what you do is basically you are given, you basically have information dumped on you. And for us, it was Ruby on Rails, how to use it, how to build applications with it, using a database front and back end. And we were just, bombarded with all this information, all these different things, all these different concepts and whatnot. And then at the very end of that, we had about a week, the last week of phase three was to pitch an idea and then build that application within, a week, and then, present it to the whole class. And then there would be a big event, a lot of people would come in and see what you're presenting and all this cool stuff. It was really cool. I really, enjoyed it. So for us, what we did was we built this app called Unspoiled. So Unspoiled was this Google Chrome extension that would block out any content on the web that you wouldn't want to see. So let's say like you didn't see the Avengers or you didn't see the sports game, you would put in Unspoiled on this Google Chrome extension saying, oh, I don't want to see this, and it would go to a database and it would get all of the actually for us, we just had it for movies. So let's say you didn't see a movie, you don't want to see anything about a movie, you would go into a movie database, pull all of these keywords from the database, and then block out all that on a web page, so you wouldn't see any of it. And if you really want to see, you could click on it, and then it would go away. Then you'd be able to see the content under it if you wanted to spoil it yourself. So this is a lot of fun to work on. We were grinding during this week. Oh, I am talking about grinding. We were working so much. I mean, we were there till probably midnight every day for this whole week. But the thing was, with my team and the people I knew and the environment, I was having so much fun doing this. I didn't mind it at all. Coding all day to me really seemed fun. And that's probably one of the best things about the Coding Bootcamp is it makes coding so much fun. A lot of things you do, programming can be boring, it can be dull, the people could be dull you're working around. This was so much fun, so exciting that I loved doing it. It really shined a new light on programming for me and how much fun it is. So we presented and we did well. It wasn't like people were going to vote on what the best application built was. They just show it, and that was it, all right? And it was such a great experience. I learned so much from the program, but then we move on to Career Week, got my resume. And I'm not going to get into how I kind of found my first job from this. I'll go in that into another video because I don't want to stretch this video out too long. Yeah, it's just, after that, I got my resume. And the things I learned, I'll just go over, a summary of everything, why I loved it so much. The networking connections I made through it are huge. A lot of people I still talk to today. I see them on Github, I see them on LinkedIn. We stay in touch, and there's a big network. If I see people at the boot camp that I went to, Dev Bootcamp, rest in peace, we already have someone in common, so it helps you build that connection there. the having fun with programming is huge that I touched on. You know, you really want to enjoy doing something, or you're not going to want to do it. You don't want your career to be something you don't want to do. So this really makes you, if you, makes you find out that you really enjoy doing this, and this is what you want to do as a career. And number 3, it taught me how to learn on my own, which is the most important skill that Bootcamp taught me, is how to become better on myself and how to have that self-discipline to really learn and retain information. Learning, because after Dev Bootcamp, most of programming, most of learning is from self-study. And this is vitally important because it's always changing. There's always new things coming out, and you need to learn them to stay relevant within the industry. So that was probably the most important skill I took away from this whole coding bootcamp experience. Again, I absolutely loved it. Thank you guys for watching this video. That's all for today. Again, I'll probably do another video about how that translated into me getting my first job in my career. All right, guys, that's it from me. Take care. Woo!
Coming at you, about to teach you a lesson. When it comes to code, you know he's never guessing. So if you think you want to learn to go and code things, get on up to lesson on coding.